What's up everybody, 40 the Broadway Sane here, and welcome back again to my YouTube channel. And it's finally that time that I give you guys my review of Cobra Kai Season 5, which recently just came out on Netflix. Now, full disclosure, there's going to be spoilers in this review, so if you haven't had a chance to watch Cobra Kai Season 5, or even Cobra Kai in general, please click off this video, go watch it on Netflix, binge watch it, do whatever you can. This show is fantastic, and it just keeps getting better and better. So again, full warning, there will be spoilers discussed in this video. But overall, the way that I'm going to be doing this review is I'm going to give you guys a summary. I'm going to give you guys some things that I loved about Season 5 and some things that I didn't like, because to be honest, I could talk about Cobra Kai for hours, but I don't want to bore you guys hours on end, continuously yapping about Cobra Kai. So I'm just going to be structuring it that way so then you guys get a full and nice review from me. So overall, Cobra Kai Season 5 was fantastic when it came to the story writing. There's definitely far more at stake this time with the season, because now the big boss is Terry Silver. He is the main bad guy for this particular season. And as we know, because of not only his knowledge of karate, of the Cobra Kai style of karate, or they call it the way of the fist, but on top of the resources that he has and just the way that he's able to deceive and manipulate people, stakes are a lot higher. It's also far more intense now with what's going on in the valley, especially the relationship between all the different characters and how they interact with each other. So there's definitely a lot more, at stake when it came to Season 5. There was some great introduction of returning cast, such as Mike Barnes and Jessica Andrews. It was very surprising to see her being brought back into the Cobra Kai, or the Miyagi-Do universe. And we'll touch up on that a little bit when we talk about, some of that. But I love the way they introduced them, and I love the way that they wrote them in. There was amazing character development for a majority of the cast, and that's one of the things that I really love about Cobra Kai, is that we get to see these characters come back from 30 years later after the events of the Karate Kid movies, and just to see them grow and change and just learn from one another, from their mistakes and their arguments and the way that they just interact. Character development, especially with this season, I just absolutely loved it. The fight choreography for this season was even better. I believe they actually brought in even more real martial artists for the cast, especially when they were playing the different senseis from that were brought in, to help instruct with Cobra Kai. The fight choreography was definitely a lot better. So that's one of the things that I feel like really stood out with the season. Music, oh my gosh, music was superb and energizing. There were so many good tracks from this particular season, paying homage to 80s martial arts movies with the way that it was orchestrated, and they did a superb job with the music. I highly recommend you guys check it out. You can just look it up on YouTube, Cobra Kai Season 5 OST. It's on there, from the official YouTube page of the composers, but the music was gorgeous, and some of the tracks I actually saved onto my workout playlist just to get me energized when I'm working out at the gym. And then another thing that I want to mention that was awesome is I was talking about real martial artists. Well, there were two particular real martial artists that were actually present in Cobra Kai Season 5. Tyrone Woodley, who was a former welterweight UFC champion, and then Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. They both played two of the senseis of the fist who were brought in to help with the expansion of Cobra Kai. So that was some of the cool things that I really thought was tight that they added into Cobra Kai Season 5. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to some of the things that I absolutely enjoyed. So number one, man, Chosen Toguchi, bringing him back in as an actual main character for this season, it was just such a treat to see. Yuji Okamoto reprise his role just brilliantly. Chosen is pretty much like a Mr. Miyagi figure now for the Cobra Kai universe. I mean, he's wise, he's very knowledgeable, and at the same time, he has that aggression that's just overall scary and can be really intimidating. And remember, in Karate Kid Part 2, he was a pretty dishonorable guy, even though he was always talking about my honor, my honor. But I don't think he truly knew what that meant, especially when he was the villain in that one. And now for him to actually know what that means and to hold it so sacredly and pass it on to Daniel and the rest of the cast, it was pretty awesome to see him. He was also so funny. I mean, because Chosen was transitioning from, living in Okinawa all his life to now being in the US for the first time and kind of like figuring out how to interact with people here in the Valley. It was really, really funny to see him interact. I love his interactions, especially with Johnny. It's really cool to see that he just instantly gets along with him. And then they have that little banter in one of the episodes where they start talking about, oh, I bullied Daniel. I beat him up in high school. Oh yeah, well, I fought him to the death. It was really cool to see them kind of bring that up. And then there was one scene that I absolutely loved when he pretty much spilled its guts to Johnny about how he felt about Kumiko. So it would be really nice to see Chosen finally, win the girl of his dreams, which is Kumiko. But overall, I love Chosen. I think Chosen was the top highlight for me for the show, and I really hope that they do more with this character for whatever next seasons they're going to be doing for Cobra Kai. Another thing that I absolutely enjoyed from the season was Johnny's character development and his maturity, because we saw in season 1 that he was a completely broken down man. After the events of Karate Kid, he kind of went down a downward spiral. He got, Shannon pregnant. He wasn't really there for Robbie, so he wasn't really good in the father department. And then he was trying to build himself back up. And because Johnny kind of is stuck in his own world, we kind of see these humorous interactions of him trying to learn things that are current in the present. But his overall character development in this one just really stood out to me. Especially there was a scene where Daniel was actually at a point of he was at the deepest, darkest in this particular season. And then he just lashes out at Johnny because he doesn't know what to do anymore. And for once, Johnny takes the role of the mature adult and kind of brings Daniel back into reality. And he's like, yo, what's going on with you, man? You're raving at me like a lunatic. You smell like booze, and it's kind of like the roles were reversed. And it was really nice to see Johnny, being that responsible adult. And then another thing that stood out to me was he actually is excited. Spoiler alert again. Him and Carmen are having a baby. So now he gets to be a father to not only Miguel and also to Robbie, but now he has another kid that he's legit going to, be this father figure for. So it's really awesome to see this character develop throughout these 5 seasons of Cobra Kai. And it's one of the things that really stood out to me. One of the things that I really enjoyed about season 5. Now, Daniel's arc to me was also one of the best for the 5 seasons of Cobra Kai. We see him go into that deep, dark place where he pretty much almost loses his family because of the rivalry that he's having and all the negativity that's been bringing him down from the resurfaced Cobra Kai with Terry Silver taking over, and how that just impacted him and how that just kind of really shook him up. And then afterwards he had that redemption, which was so beautifully well written, where he had the support of his wife, he had the support of the Miyagi-Do students, the Eagle Fang students, and then afterwards his blossoming friendship with Johnny and also having Chosen there. That was beautifully written. I think Daniel definitely had one of the best arcs, going from that time into darkness and then being brought back into light. That was beautifully written. One of the things that I also enjoyed, Mike Barnes, the karate bad boy, they did bring him back. And I was correct with my prediction. I was telling folks that I was talking about when they released the teasers, I'm like, Mike Barnes is not going to be a bad guy. Watch, he's going to be a good guy. He's going to be a good guy. He's going to get his life turned around. And boy, was I right. We saw that the karate bad boy, even though he still had that, that bad boy in him, but he turned his life around. He is now an owner of a furniture store with his wife. He enjoys, creating these, different types of furniture just to be able to see families enjoy and spend time together. He took a turn for the best, and then he apologizes to Daniel, and it seemed like he wanted to apologize to him all those years, but he just didn't want to trigger anything. And it's really cool to see that his life had turned around, and I'm really, really hoping that they do more with this character, because I would have liked to see more of Mike Barnes, but I do understand why they kind of limited his presence with this season, because the season was about Daniel, Terry, Chosen, and Johnny. And then I feel like if they had tried to incorporate Mike just a little bit more, I think it would have detracted from the show and the path that it was trying to take this season. But I am glad they brought him in. I am glad that he is a good guy and he did get his life turned around. Now, Terry Silver is definitely a highlight for this season. He was already a highlight in season 4, and he's more of a highlight for this one. I mean, just the way Thomas Ian Griffith plays his character, just so manipulative, so charismatic. It seems like he cares about the kids, but in reality, he's all in it for himself, all in it to just really get back at his rivals. And then the way that he just weaves himself into Daniel's life and to really destroy it from the inside, that was just so beautifully well done. And Thomas Ian Griffith, man, the way he plays Terry Silver, you want to hate the character, but at the same time, you're like, this is just so well done that you can't really hate him. He just does such a good job of playing this villain, and he does a superb job again in season 5, and I just absolutely loved it. And I know that at the end, now Terry Silver is incarcerated, he's in prison, but hopefully for season 6, they're gonna continue to use him a little bit more, and we'll get to see what he has to do to maybe break out of prison, or, you know, Terry Silver has all these resources. You know that he's going to be fighting back to get himself back out and get back on top. But I cannot wait to see what they get to do with his character. Another thing that I loved is the Sekai Taikai qualifiers was definitely a surprise. So we find out later in the season that Terry Silver's ultimate goal, which he presented to Johnny back when they were still younger, was he wanted to get Cobra Kai global. He wanted to make sure that their way was the way through this international tournament, and having this thrown at us, which was a pretty big surprise. And I really liked how there was just more than just the All Valley. You know, there was more than just this local tournament. There was something even far greater that was being, you know, written in. And the Sekai Taikai qualifiers was definitely a treat to see. I enjoyed the dojo presentations that they did for Cobra Kai, Eagle Fang, and Miyagi-Do. There was a lot of really funny moments that I really enjoyed with the dojo presentations when they were presenting to the board, especially with Eagle Fang, because we know Johnny is super old school, and it was just really fun to see the qualifiers for that, and actually getting to see some tournament style fights with the qualifier. So I really enjoyed that, and definitely a surprise and a great way to write in an international tournament as being like the next chapter for Cobra Kai. I love the forgiveness and amends amongst several rivals. So, you know, we had Johnny and Daniel pretty much now becoming friends. Chosen being there, you know, to support Daniel and help the LaRusso family combat their problems with Cobra Kai. We had Mike Barnes again, you know, who was brought in, and now he's a good guy, and he apologized to Daniel. That was really done well. I really enjoyed that. And then the way that they wrote in how Miguel and Robbie pretty much hashed it out with, like, you know, a no rules, no holds barred fight. I really like how both of those characters, you know, have now put aside their differences. They're pretty much like best friends. I mean, technically they're brothers now, or like half brothers, but it's really cool to see Miguel and Robbie, two of the top younger generation fighters, just finally getting along and finally working together, you know, to put Cobra Kai down. And then I actually really enjoyed how Sam showed compassion to Tori. I mean, we knew for a while that these two like hated each other. And in season 5, I actually liked how there wasn't really a lot of that. Like, there were some moments they shared, like during the Sekai Taikai qualifiers, they had eye contact with one another, and you could see that Tori has this remorse, and she wants to tell Sam that, hey, you were really the winner of this tournament, of the All Valley tournament. You know, I need to come clean. And then, you know, Sam kind of having like a misunderstanding, and then afterwards showing compassion and seeing them put aside their differences to work together, to taking down Cobra Kai, which is the root of the problem. I really like how they wrote that in. And again, just the overall forgiveness and making amends with like all the different rivals. Definitely enjoyed that. Would love to see more of that, because it just makes the story and the story writing overall that much more interesting. And then finally, one of the things that I really enjoyed is the Easter eggs that they paid homage to different like 80s franchises. That Top Gun scene with playing with the boys with Carmen and Johnny dressed up as Tom Cruise, and then they did the volleyball scene, you know, kind of paying homage to how they did that in the original Top Gun movie. That was hella funny. Like, I had a blast just watching that. And then let's not forget the freaking Rocky 4 references when Johnny was talking to the chairman of the Sekai Taikai, how he was talking about, you gotta be old school, you gotta climb up a mountain, and the chairman guy just yells Drago. That caught me off guard, and I thought that was freaking hilarious how they wrote that in. And then let's not forget that hilarious scene where Johnny, Chosen, and Daniel were drunk off their minds singing Eye of the Tiger. That was so funny. And I love like the different, you know, Easter eggs that they threw in there, you know, not just to just Karate Kid, but like other 80s franchises that were popular around the time when Karate Kid was out. So loved it, loved it, loved it. So those are some of the things that I enjoyed. Now, let's go to a few things that I particularly did not enjoy, or I think could have been done a little bit better for season 5. So the first one, and I share this sentiment with a lot of people that I've talked to, is freaking Kenny had way too much plot armor this season. Like, he went from being the bullied kid in season 4 to becoming a bit of a badass, and then he became a bully. And then now he like can easily fodderize Eli, aka Hawk, who was the recent All Valley champion. Like, for real, like, what is with that? And he also managed to take Robbie down with that little silver bullet strike. I get it. That strike is supposed to, like, you know, incapacitate your opponent temporarily for you to gain the advantage. It's pretty much, you know, it follows Terry Silver's Quicksilver philosophy, which is, you know, a man can't breathe, he can't fight. But it's like too much plot armor. Like he became like super OP to where he can contend with fighters like Hawk, Robbie, and it's like, why? Why was he written to be this powerful? Like, I get it. You know, he's young. He has a lot of potential. Like, Terry Silver straight up told him, you have a lot of potential, maybe even more than some of these other, you know, fighters. But it was a bit too much for me, and I wasn't a fan of how he was just all of a sudden given like this amount of power. And then the bullying that he did. There was one scene that it was really difficult to watch that he was doing to Anthony, where they pretty much put his face in the toilet while there was actual fecal matter in that toilet. That was so hard to watch, and it's like, this is going too far. Like, I understand in karate, in season 4, excuse me, like, Anthony was the bully, what he did was messed up, but it wasn't to the extent that Kenny was doing. And Anthony was actually remorseful at the end of season 4. Like, he apologized. He was like, yo, I just want to hash this out. I'll do anything. But I felt like the bullying that Kenny did towards Anthony as, like, you know, retaliation, it's a bit too much. Like, really, it was just a bit too much. So didn't really like how they went about that. And hopefully we'll see a good redemption arc with Kenny, because they've done it. I mean, Hawk became like this bully and now he's redeemed. Hopefully they can do something good for Kenny, because I think the character is interesting. I just think for this season, he was just given way too much power, and the bullying just didn't sit well with me. Another thing that I think could have been done better, the Mexico arc with Miguel trying to find his dad. I think it was rushed, and it could have been 3 episodes long. It was only 2 episodes long, and I'm like, wow, that was fast. He found his dad quickly. You know, I think that was a bit too rushed, and it was just the pacing of it overall could have been extended out to at least 1 more episode, because they made such a big deal over it during season 4 about how Miguel really wanted to find out where he came from. He wanted to meet his dad, and then for it to only be 2 episodes long was just kind of like, I felt like they could have done a little bit better than that. And then the last thing that I guess I'm nitpicking is there were some inconsistencies with 2 of the fights. So the first fight that I thought there was inconsistencies was when Chosen and Daniel confronted one of the, you know, the Fist or the Cobra Kai senseis. I think it was Sensei Hyun Woo. I think that's what his name is. I need to look it up. They all those senseis are named, by the way, but they didn't really address them all by their names. But like, it took Johnny and Chosen, you know, just it took 2 of them to beat 1, but then all of a sudden later on, you see Johnny going like Ultra Instinct Rage mode and like taking down 5 of them, including the one that took 2 of them to take down. Like, I get it, he was super drunk, and you know, he saw that he had that moment where he was like Ultra Rage Dad mode when he saw the sonogram of his baby with Carmen, but still, I was just kind of like, I mean, that was a little inconsistent, which was a little strange to me. And then not having Mike Barnes in the final fight enough. I mean, he took down 1 sensei, and then all of a sudden, for the rest of the fight, he was unconscious because they had him get smacked in the head with a statue. Like, I get it, you know, that's a lot of damage that would put anybody out, but it's like, I think he could have at least been used a little bit more in at least the final fight, because we literally only got to see him in 2 episodes. So I think that's something that they could have done a little bit better. But overall, those are my only real complaints or things that I didn't really like about season 5. And all in all, in conclusion, I think that this season was fantastic. It was action-packed. The writing was great. It far exceeded my expectations, and I'm really dying to see how much further they can take this. I think that there should only be 1 more season after this. And I know the writers were teasing that, you know, the final season is going to be like an end game kind of a deal, you know. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what they're going to be doing for the next season for Cobra Kai. But overall, guys, Cobra Kai season 5, I loved it. For me, it's in my top 3, you know, for the seasons of Cobra Kai, and I highly encourage you guys to check it out on Netflix right now. Binge watch it, do whatever you can. And to make it even more interesting, some people have been asking me, yo, 40, should I watch the original Karate Kid movies? I think you would appreciate the show a lot better if you at least watch the first 3 movies. You could watch the 4th movie, but because there really isn't much things that they've teased, you know, about the 4th movie, I say watch the first 3 movies first, and then afterwards watch Cobra Kai. That way you'll get a better understanding and a better appreciation once you start watching Cobra Kai. All right, guys, well, this is going to be my overall review for Cobra Kai season 5. Again, there are spoilers, so I warned you if you clicked on my video and continued watching without watching it. But anyways, guys, thank you again for watching. Stay tuned for the next video and stay blessed.